Indie games on Steam are like mildly hot, stupid people in Los Angeles, but there's a couple of ways they can stand out from the crowd. 1, suck the right cock. 2, have a really eye-catching name while sucking the right cock. But going down the list of recent additions to the Second Wind communal Steam account, it's like my eyes on a fucking slip and slide. No shade intended, some of these games are good, but come on. Children of the Sun, Ereban Shadow Legacy, my mind keeps wanting to read that as Raid Shadow Legends, and those fuckers haven't paid up lately. Aiden Chronicle, Leysara Spirit Kingdom, there's more bollock sandwiches than at a picnic hosted by Lorena Bobbitt. Thank goodness for Yellow Taxi Goes Vroom. Not only is it an eye-catching title, it's also a sentiment I think we can all get behind. Yes, yellow taxis do go vroom. Who among us could claim to not having gone vroom at one time or another? It doesn't hurt that it's also a good game. Thank Christ, about time I injected some positivity into the year. I've been so down on my review subjects lately, I keep knocking over the houseplants with my hate stiffy. Yellow Taxi Goes Vroom is a retro-style 3D platformer evoking a sort of N64 era of such things, structured in the traditional Mario 64 open-ended maps, collect the MacGuffins to unlock new levels and try not to trip over and blind yourself on the huge brightly coloured pixels format. But does the thing that all modern retro-styled games should do, which is to get the look down and then see how many steroids it can pump into this poor little bastard before its eyeballs explode. So now we don't have to worry about things like loading times or having to go out and buy the extra memory pack on a Christmas afternoon. Yellow Taxi Goes Vroom has the sheer frenetic speed and energy of a nervous squirrel getting a contact high from the floor of a Colombian disco. You play a wind-up yellow taxi, going vroom, naturally, that is the only vehicle still working after all the gasoline in the land becomes possessed or something, thanks to the sinister machinations of Alien Mosk, CEO of the Tosler Corporation, which is about as on the nose as one can get without getting bogies in your hair. But after 2 seconds of playing Yellow Taxi Goes Vroom, the one thing one should not expect from it is subtlety. It's a madcap explosion of colour and vibrancy where everything perpetually jiggles like a chihuahua doing stage training in an abattoir runoff pit. You get around by zooming, or vrooming if you will, through the environments, boosting into ramps to crack off insane jumps to music that sounds like it came from a classic Amiga platformer being hurled down a spiral staircase, and it's fun as hell. Little bit weird then that a very fast-paced game about a car doesn't focus on speed challenges. There are some, but particularly in the back half, it's more about exploration and reaching hidden pickups using all the exotic movement mechanics the game doesn't tell you about at first. Which I don't dislike, it lends the basic mechanics an easy-to-learn, hard-to-master kind of depth that's fun to explore, but I'm also not creaming me jocks over the sections where the camera switches to overhead, because the controls abruptly switch to a linear 2D system without asking permission, and suddenly we're playing fucking Pac-Man, and having to avoid touching the roaming monsters. Excuse me, Yellow Taxi Goes Vroom, but the established pattern when I run into living things is that they scream and go flying in that hilarious way the Katamari games always made meat out of. Please ensure your maze inhabitants are informed of this going forward. That aside, it's absolutely one of those innovative mechanics-focused games with that rare quality of being tightly designed while coming across like it doesn't give a shit. It certainly doesn't give much of a shit about setting off epileptic seizures. Yeah, that's my final word of warning. I know standard epilepsy warnings have kind of fallen into the background of our perceptions, like no smoking signs and ongoing societal collapse, but maybe take this one seriously, yeah? Maybe skip this game if you are sensitive to flashing colours in the way that those sensitive to internal hemorrhaging should skip getting buggered by a horse. But while staying in the realm of retro-style graphics, let's shift gears to a game unlikely to get anyone overexcited. Phantom Fury, sequel to Ion Fury, but having now graduated from the 2D sprites in fake 3D build engine invasion of the very perturbed cardboard cutouts style, we now enter the realms of early full 3D, except with that System Shock remake style combination of advanced lighting effects and really low resolution textures, which doesn't look much like how any game from the referenced era actually looked, but whatever, if it means a few texture artists can actually see their kids this weekend. Phantom Fury continues the big vagina flaps shooty action, but in parallel to the updating of the graphics, attempts to inject a greater depth of storytelling. So wisecracking female Duke Nukem, Duchess Nutcham if you will, Shelley Harrison, now has to have a tragic backstory in which she lost her unit and spouse and arm and became a tool of the military-industrial complex, and now her wisecracking one-liners read more like a severely damaged person showing a therapist on the doll where she shot her dad. The plot moves from cackling mad scientists to corruption within Shelley's organisation, which means she spends the whole game gunning down fellow soldiers in a way that will no doubt come back to haunt her if she ever plans to run for office. The all but stated goal is to evoke Half-Life, but it isn't much like Half-Life. The enemies lack for variety, and the plot for any non-hackneyed element. It more brings to mind one of the many other forgettable shooters from Half-Life's era, like Soldier of Fortune or Sin, and just in case that reference slips you by, the main character of Sin literally shows up for a cameo to confuse the fuck out of all but the 12 people who remember that game. There's also a rather adorable play for the Immersive Sim label in the way a small child wearing their dad's coat is making a play for sleeping in the big bed with mummy. How that manifests is environments loaded with useless furniture and flavour trash that can all be individually picked up and thrown to absolutely zero useful effect, because you've got 19 fucking guns. There's also computers through which you can access files and deactivate turrets, except by the time you find them, you've probably already destroyed the turrets because, again, you've got 19 fucking guns. The gun combat's fine, even fun, barring the one gun that fires some kind of neon electric foam stuff that feels like we ripped it off a nightclub ceiling. So if you just want to shoot orderly queues of faceless mooks all day, then Phantom Fury provides. If you want a game that embodies the purity and greatness of late 90s, early 2000s shooters, just replay Half-Life, I guess. If on the other hand you want a harsh wake-up call so you stop using phrases like like purity and greatness, Phantom Fury will very effectively remind you that every era also has piles of mediocre dross, bound for the forgotten dustbin of history alongside King Edmund II and Benito Mussolini's anger management specialist.